And we took your measurements, we graded your skin quality, all of that kind of stuff, and we said, okay, you got to pick a model over here. Would your numbers go into the good pile or the bad pile?
I think they would most likely go into the good pile.
Okay, so there is a level at which intellectually you say, I understand, I must be distorting my perception.
Yes.
Because at some objective standard, I can see that this would be okay if it was somebody else, but somehow or another I'm looking through a filter that distorts that for me. I see something different than everybody else sees. It isn't that I am different, I see something different.
That's exactly what it is.
Now, when we come back, why Cheyenne's problem is here and why her mother blames herself.
I used to fake sick so that I could stay home and not have to worry about the other kids looking at me and making comments.
Sometimes I lied for her so she wouldn't get in trouble. I didn't want her to get kicked out of school.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, a beautiful model in a dangerous marriage.
You imagine getting out a steak knife and stabbing her to death.
Yes. All-new Dr. Phil.
Why did you unplug the cameras?
That's tomorrow.
I have always enjoyed doing pageants.
I have absolutely no idea how she's able to get up there and do pageants and do as well as she does when she suffers from this disorder.
Body dysmorphic disorder affects approximately 1 in 50 people here in the United States. And tonight, my story is about me.
We've been talking about body dysmorphic disorder. 17-year-old Cheyenne says she stresses about her looks every waking moment. She takes 2 hours to get ready for school in the morning and picks at her arm hair, her lips, because she doesn't like the way they look. Her mother, Bobette, wonders if she's the cause of her daughter's bad feelings. Why would you look to yourself for this? I don't disagree that there's an element there, but why?
Well, as people who suffer apparently from this disorder, if their parents or family members have a history of depression, then they're more susceptible to this disorder. And I've been diagnosed with major depression and lived with it most of my life. Right. So I feel like I made her this way.
You think genetically and behaviorally you may have programmed her and conditioned her to be this way? I won't disagree that those may be factors, but you have to understand this isn't an issue of blame. Blame implies intent. Responsibility just implies involvement. Okay, there is a genetic involvement here, I have no doubt. There is an environmental exposure involvement, but that means that you are an active ingredient in this. It's not an issue of blame, and we don't want to go there. And look, I've just met you, and we've asked you a million questions, as you know, and we asked you a million questions, and we went through extensive backgrounds. You've been in pageants since you were 5?
Younger. I was 3 for my first pageant.
Okay, so you've been Little Miss this and Little Miss that and all of these different things along the way. Not surprisingly. For us, for the rest of us, not surprisingly, we see you. You were a cute little bugger and grew up to be a cute girl and very attractive, objectively. And I've got to tell you, you need to rely on people that are going to do proper diagnostic workups for you. But every fiber of my being questions whether this is a body dysmorphic disorder situation here. Because I can tell you, body dysmorphics are not going to be going to pageants. They're not going to be drawing attention to themselves. What may happen is that kind of overvaluation by apparent overvaluation by society of focusing on them can certainly make them self-critical, can certainly make them narcissistic, can certainly make them a lot of different things. But I just got to tell you, I have real questions as to whether or not this is what's going on here. And I think defining the problem is half the solution any time. You know, you don't want to be dealing with the wrong thing, focusing on the right thing. Ari, y'all deal with this every day.
Yes, we do.
I'm questioning whether or not this is a classic body dysmorphic disorder. What do you think?
Just because someone is very concerned about their appearance does not mean it's BDD. There are many things going on. I agree with you, Dr. Phil, that because of the attention paid to her early on, being in pageants and what have you, so much of her sense of self was connected with her appearance. And that means other areas of her were not built up, possibly. So definitely there's issues going on with appearance, but that doesn't mean it's BDD per se.
Yeah, I'm very uncomfortable with that being thrown around by people who don't specialize and deal with it every day. And that's why I'm concerned about that, because a lot of your history and profile is markedly inconsistent with what one would predict with body dysmorphic disorder. I'm not saying it's good or bad news. I'm just saying we just need to do some real figuring out. Now, before the show, we asked Cheyenne to sketch what she thinks her face looks like, what she thinks her body looks like. We're going to show you those drawings when we come back. They're very telling. We're talking with young people who say they just can't stand the way they look. Now, everything's on a continuum, okay? You can start out with being like really dumb to like way smart. You can be kind of blue in mood to being severely depressed. There are all kinds of stops along the continuum about where someone would fall. When we're talking about body dysmorphic disorder, we're talking about way out here at this end of the continuum with a very severe and complex psychiatric disorder. Now, before the show, we asked Cheyenne to sketch what she thinks she looks like, particularly her face. And this is what she drew. Now, this is not by accident, right? And understand, to me, from a clinical standpoint, this has nothing to do with your artistic ability, which actually is pretty good. But you are depicting some characteristics that you think are very negative for you, right?
Yes.
What did you intend to depict here?
The darkness under my eyes. I have like dots on my nose that I see. My lips are not